Hi everybody, thank you for joining us. My name is Galileo, I'm here from Gradescope, and we'll do a quick but thorough walkthrough of the platform and show you how Gradescope can help you in your courses. So a little bit of an overview, what is Gradescope? Gradescope is a feedback and assessment platform. Really what it's designed to do is help cut grading times pretty significantly. Depending on the assignment types and question types, you can find between 50 to 80% time save on the grading process. We also help instructors grade more consistently and more fairly towards students and reduce the bias in the grading process. And we also surface insights to instructors on how their students are doing, which concepts they get really well, which concepts they're struggling with. And that creates a very powerful tool for driving teaching and learning while your course is happening, but also in between courses. So if you've now taught a course, you've gotten some data from Gradescope on things that maybe didn't go as well, assignments or questions that were too tough, some that were too easy, maybe different concepts that you need to spend a little more time on. Now that you've made these changes, you'll have access to the data from the previous course to actually measure the impact of the changes you've made. So a bit about the process, the grading process in Gradescope. We treat exams, homework, and also code projects. And so with exams, what you'll do is you and or your TAs will quickly take the students' work. We recommend you cut the corners with scissors. Don't unstaple them. It takes too much time and also might encourage jams in the scanner. You'll quickly scan students' work up to Gradescope. You do it in bulk. You don't have to scan one assignment at a time, as many as your scanner can fit at a one batch. Then when the students' work is on Gradescope, you'll start grading the work online using a flexible rubric that you can change at any time, and I'll show all these in the walkthrough. Then you can publish grades to students online, handle regrade requests and other matters, again, online on your own time. You don't have to have all of the grading staff in the same room. And you get very detailed analytics and statistics on how your students did. So that's for exams. What you do, by the way, before giving the actual exam is upload an empty template to Gradescope of your exam. Tell Gradescope where are the answer regions, and then when you go to grade, Gradescope will focus you on the right area in the student's exam. I'll show that as well. When it goes to homework, really the only difference in the process is that students can take pictures or scan their homework and upload it themselves to Gradescope. The rest is identical. You'll then grade online, send grades to students. You can also sync the grades with Canvas, and again, the analytics. If there are any computer science instructors in the audience or other instructors that use code, you can both auto-grade code, so you can upload your auto-grader, have students submit code, and then get immediate feedback. You can also manually grade that same code, so you can auto-grade and manually grade, or you can manually grade only, with the ability to do inline commenting, and again, the same analytics and data with regards to students' performance. What you will learn today, we'll go over Gradescope, the grading process. You'll learn how to use Gradescope to grade your exams and homework, how to grade groups of answers all at once. So in Gradescope, we use AI to help cluster groups of identical students' answers. That's a huge time save in any course, but especially in large courses. How to create your rubric and make rubric changes as you grade. How to make comments on students' work and annotations. And the final take would be to look at the statistics that we get and how to look at them, what can we learn from them. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the walkthrough of the platform. So what you see here is the main grading interface. On the left, I see a scanned student's exam. You can see that I can zoom in and out. Clicking on this question only will focus me on the answer region that I made on the student's exam. So quickly to review what I just mentioned, I will upload an empty template of my exam. Very easily by dragging and dragging my mouse, I'm going to create an answer region. So Gradescope knows where is question 1.1. When I go ahead and grade and telling Gradescope I'm going to grade question 1.1, Gradescope will focus me on all of my students' answers to question 1.1. By default, grading on Gradescope is grading one question at a time. It helps prevent context switching, and it helps with reducing bias. As you can see, grading is what we call partially anonymized. Graders can go ahead and search for the student's name, but if they focus on the answer regions and just go from one assignment to the other, they won't see which student they're grading as they grade. So this is here on the left is my student's exam. On the right, we see the flexible digital rubric that you can create either ahead of time before you even start grading, or you can create it on the fly as you grade and encounter students' mistakes. This top part is shared among all students. If you want to do a student-specific adjustments, it will be on the lower part. I'll show all these as I go through the grading process. So I'm going to go ahead and start grading. The question is, what is the integral of x? And we see that this student actually got it right. The answer is half x squared plus c. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this correct rubric item. We see that this student didn't lose any points. And it's up to me in the rubric settings. I can change if it's negative or positive scoring and whether I have a ceiling or a floor. That means that the grade could not go above a certain point or below 0. I can also do a combination of positive and negative scoring depending on the sign next to the point value on the rubric item. So I'm going to go ahead to the next and click Next Ungraded. This will send me to the next student's answer to the same question. And I see here a new type of mistake. The student forgot their constant. And this is the first time I've encountered this mistake, so I'm going to go ahead and create a new rubric item, missing constant. Let's say that we deem this a larger mistake, so I'm going to give it a 2-point value to the rubric, and I can apply it either by clicking right here, as I showed you in the previous question, or Gradescope has very robust keyboard shortcuts. Essentially every single grading action you can do with your mouse, you can do with the keyboard. So instead of clicking on the rubric item itself, I'm going to click my number 3 key on my keyboard. That will apply rubric item number 3. And we see that this student lost 2 points now. Clicking Next Ungraded will send me to yet another student's answer to the same question. By the way, a quick comment on what's the difference between Next and Next Ungraded. If you are grading solo and you're the only grader, absolutely no difference. They're one and the same. If you're grading in a group, though, clicking Next Ungraded will make sure that no 2 graders will ever land on the same student's answer or on a student's answer that already has been graded. And you can see here by hovering over the keys that Gradescope indicates the keyboard shortcuts. So now instead of clicking Next Ungraded, I can also click Z on my keyboard. This student has a combination of the 2 mistakes, right? They're missing 1/2 and they're also missing a constant. So I'm going to click the keys 2 and 3 on my keyboard, and we see that this student now lost all their points. Now let's say that we've graded about 20, 30, 40 students, maybe half of my students, and I'm actually realizing that way more of my students are making the combination of these 2 mistakes, and taking all their points now seems a bit too harsh. In other situations, might not be harsh enough. In paper-based land, I need to go back to the start of the pile, scribble, regrade, retally the points, and it's a big time sink. In Gradescope, all I need to do is change the point value of this rubric item. And when I click Enter, you'll see that this student got their point back. All of the students to which this rubric item was applied get this point back as well. One note about the rubric that's very useful, you see this little magnifying glass. You'll see this on every single rubric item that you create. I'm going to open this in a new tab. This is a way for you to check yourselves or check your grading team and make sure that the rubric is being applied correctly. So you can randomly choose a rubric item, and once you click on the magnifying glass, you'll get a list of all the students to which this rubric item was applied. Clicking on their names will send you to their assignment and seeing this question that we're now grading and making sure that the rubric item was applied correctly. You can do a random test and view a few of these students and make sure that the rubric is being used correctly. I'm going to pause for a second with the rubric, and I'm going to go ahead and show you a bit of the annotation tools that we have. So this hand tool allows you to move things around, control the zoom. By the way, if for some reason the answer region is too small for you or too large, you can change the zoom, and then if you click Save View, it will save the view, the current view, to this specific grader for the duration of grading this question. So it doesn't change the answer region, but it changes your personal view. We have this text box annotation tool, so I can click anywhere on the student's in the student's assignment, write a comment, and make sure that the comment is really pinpointed to the exact point or spot in the student's answer that we want to make a comment on. I also have this, and I can make as many comments as I'd like. I also have this pen tool right here that I can use either with my mouse. Instructors that use stylus pens with tablets when they grade absolutely love this feature. And there's also this highlight tool to highlight parts of the student's work that we want to address. Maybe we want to connect a comment to it. Any annotations I make on students' work will wait and be available for students when they review their grades on their Gradescope accounts. And of course, I have this eraser to get rid of anything I'm not interested in. So I'm going to go ahead and continue grading. Clicking Z will send me to the next student's answer to the same question. And we see a new type of mistake. The student left it blank. So I'm going to create a new rubric item, which is blank answers. Obviously, these students will lose all their points. I will apply this rubric item by clicking 4. And we can see that once my rubric is built out, moving from student's answer to from one student's answer to another is very easy, and I can very efficiently just apply the rubric that's already built. Now, one other way that you have to comment on students' work is by creating a comment right here, and any comment you create will wait for you in a drop-down menu and be available to apply to all other students to which this comment will make sense. Now, this is actually a big paradigm shift because until using tools like Gradescope, instructors had to think, okay, how do I put this comment in the most concise, shortest way possible? Because I'm going to have to write this comment maybe tens of times. Now with Gradescope, you can actually take a bit of time, maybe 30 seconds, a minute, write a very thoughtful piece of feedback, maybe with a link to resources that students can then review and work on their mistakes. And then you know that you don't have to ever write that comment again when you grade this assignment. So again, huge time save. But not only the time save, it also enables instructors to give actionable feedback and very thoughtful and personalized at scale. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with grading. The student is missing the constant. The student has it blank. This is missing 1/2. And this is a great exam. What happens when the student writes outside of the answer region that we've indicated? So as an instructor or a grader, you'll have access to all of the students' pages from right here. So I can see that the student actually used kind of calculation or scrap paper to write their answer. I can see that they actually had the correct answer, so I'm going to apply this correct rubric item. and moving to the next student's answer will focus me back on the answer region for that answer. And this student is missing a constant. This is pretty much most of the what we call manual grading. Next, what I'm going to show you is the grading with use of answer grouping or AI-assisted grading. So I'm going to grade the same exact question for certain question types. Currently, it's multiple choice answers, short text answers, and short math answers. Equations, advanced notations, no problem. We support what we call AI-assisted grading. That will help you automatically cluster groups of identical students' answers. And instead of grading each student's answer one at a time, you can then grade with one grading action. You can grade a full group of students that answered the same answer. So I'm going to go ahead. What we've done thus far is grading individually. I'm going to tell Gradescope that I want to form answer groups. And I'm going to indicate that this is a math fill-in-the-blank question. And then I'm going to click here to review answer groups. What we see is Gradescope's AI running over my scanned exams and automatically offering 5 groups that Gradescope found. And we can see how many students' answers are in each group. And this is very important. Gradescope never takes decisions for instructors, but we do make it very easy and efficient for instructors to make these decisions. So even though we're very comfortable with the grouping, we're going to ask instructors or graders to review the groups and make sure that the students' answers have been grouped properly. So I'm going to go ahead and review the first group. I can control the thumbnail size right here, depending on how late at night it is and whether I have my glasses on. And I can see that these have been grouped properly. These are all x squared plus c. I'm going to confirm and review the next group. These are all x squared. These are all half x squared. I'm going to confirm this group as well. These are the correct answers. And these are all the students that left it blank. If Gradescope is not confident in grouping some of the students' answers, we will essentially leave it for the instructor to put in the right group themselves. This, by the way, is identical to what we call manual grading. So for other type of questions where we don't yet support AI-assisted grading, instructors can go ahead and manually create groups, which I'm happy to show as well. And what instructors would do, you can select students' answers with clicking space while hovering above them, or you can go ahead and just drag and drop into the correct group. So if I chose an answer, I can click on the right group. This is where the answer will go. These are all the blanks. And now that I've grouped all of the students' answers, I'm ready to go ahead and grade. When I grade, you'll see that the interface is almost identical. The only real difference is that Gradescope is letting me know or reminding me that I'm grading by group. Which group am I grading now? Which you can control the group's name. How many submissions are in this group? And I can see right here in the pile, where am I? So this is submissions 1 to 4 out of 19. So I'm going to go ahead and start grading. These 4 students are missing both 1/2 and the constant. Clicking next ungraded, which again I'm going to use keyboard shortcuts, so I'm clicking Z on my keyboard, will send me to the next group of ungraded students' answers. We see that this group has 4 submissions, and all of these students are missing 1/2. So I'm going to apply this rubric item and go to the next group of ungraded answers. These are all the students that got it correct. I'm going to move to the next next group of students' answers. These are have 4 submissions as well. They are all missing a constant. These are all the students that left it blank. So I'm going to apply the last rubric item and clicking next ungraded. You just saw that I graded 19 students' answers in probably less than 10 seconds. So you can imagine this feature, how incredibly powerful it is when you have 70, 150, 700 students. And really quick review of the manual grouping. This is a geography question, but I'm going to go ahead and indicate that I want to manually group. And what I'll see is all of my students' answers in thumbnails. Again, you can really focus on one student's answer at a time. And I want you to imagine, let me quickly show you the homepage on Gradescope. If you're curious to see how your work will be used on Gradescope, we have different disciplines here. We have computer science, programming and paper-based assignments, physics. So we use a little bit of a simplified math question in our demo, but you can see how instructors used Gradescope to grade their questions. These are real instructors that use Gradescope. You can see that we support LaTeX anywhere on the platform. So you can really answer and comment on students' work using LaTeX, diagrams, molecular structures. And here would be a great example for a question that we would, if we do want to group, we'll use manual grouping. So imagine that I'm looking for, it's a short essay question. I'm looking for about 5 different elements in the student's answer. And I'm going to create groups of students that got all 5 elements, another group that has only 4, another group that has only 3. So even though the AI can't help me create the groups, I can go ahead and create the groups myself. By the way, even just, and this is feedback that we've heard from instructors, even just creating a group of all of the correct students' answers will save you that much time to then go ahead and kind of individually grade and spend more time with the students that actually need more of your help because they have more unique solutions and mistakes. So I'm going to go ahead and hover and choose. The question here is South Dakota. So I'm going to super quickly just create one group of all the correct answers. And I don't want to use too much time here, but you will essentially create all groups that you want to create manually. And then when you go ahead and grade, identical interface to the automatic grading, but you've created to the automatic grouping. I apologize, but you created your groups on your own. I'm going to go ahead and show you the review grades page. After we're done grading, I get pretty quick statistics on how my students did. We will have more detailed analytics in the statistics page, which I will cover a little later in the demo. What I do in the review grades page is quickly making sure that all students with a submission actually got graded. Later on, after I release the grades, after I publish them, I can also check which student actually viewed their work. I know some instructors use that to add bonus points to people who reviewed their work or kind of release hostage points to people that went ahead and viewed their work. I get pretty quick statistics. The opportunities you'll have here, the buttons, you'll have an additional button that I actually don't have right here, which is sync the grades with Canvas. You can also download a CSV of your students' grades. This will create per student in their final grade. You have this button with export evaluations. This will download a CSV based on your students and their grades, but broken into per question, per rubric item grading. So if you want to do any data manipulation, any statistics that we currently do not provide, but you want to do, this is a great way of getting the data you need. Export submissions will essentially create a PDF file per student with their scanned exam and the rubrics that you've created on top of that. So this is meant for mostly instructors that don't want to return work online, but they want to return hard copies. This is a great way to do this. So I want to go ahead and publish grades and let my students know that their work has been graded and that it's available for them to view on their Gradescope accounts. So clicking on publishing grades will make the graded work available for students on their Gradescope accounts. They have not yet been notified, though, that it's available for them. The way I do that is by clicking Compose Email to Students. We throw in the statistics. Some instructors love it, some instructors don't. You can control the content of the message body and the kind of bottom of the email. If this is the first time that you've sent this email and published grades on Gradescope, this email will automatically also include a link for the students to go ahead and set up their password to the accounts. We essentially create Gradescope accounts for all your students on the back end as soon as you sync your roster with Canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and send this email. And now switching to my student account, and I can see that my midterm has been graded. I can see my score, and clicking into the work, I see my scanned exam and whichever rubric that were used by the instructor or the grader to grade my work. So clicking on the questions themselves will indicate to the student where in the exam are they looking at, and show them the rubric that the instructor used. Now, by default, students see the full rubric. We do highlight which rubric items were applied to their work. You can change that on the settings and make it so students only see rubric items that were applied to their work. This is probably a good point in the walkthrough to just mention that I know a lot of education tools, education tech tools, sometimes can be limiting and demand to be used in a certain way. The philosophy behind Gradescope, our goal is to create as flexible platform as possible so instructors can really grade and assess students' work the way they want to. So a lot of these settings are changeable on your either assignment settings, course settings, or your account settings. And for a lot of, if you desire to do something on Gradescope and you don't see the direct feature to do that, please contact us at help@gradescope.com. We'll help you find, hopefully we'll help you find a good workaround. And if we don't have that yet, what we do is we love instructors' feedback. We love knowing what you need and want. And so we'll log this as a feature request. We'll put your name on it. And if and when we develop that, we'll make sure that you are notified that this feature is now available. So back to my students' work. Students can go ahead and move in between the questions. They can also ask for regrade requests online. So this is actually also a huge time save, and certainly cutting your lines outside of the office in office hours. So I'm going to go ahead and make a regrade request. Hopefully, your students give a better reasoning to why they deserve points, but I know that sometimes it's not the case. And they can go ahead and submit the request. Switching back to my instructor account, these regrade requests will wait for me right here. I can see which is the student that asked for it, what question are they asking the regrade request for, and I can sort the requests according to questions, so I can, again, prevent context switching and make sure I deal with all of the same requests or the requests for the same question at the same time. I can see who was the grader that graded that question. By the way, it's up to you, again, in the account settings, you can have it so by default the regrade request goes directly to the actual grader that graded that specific student's answer, or you can decide that you, the instructor, you're the only one that's taking care of regrade requests, and all requests get to your account. And then I can see here if it was completed or not. Clicking on review will send me to that student's submission, to their question on which they ask for the regrade, and I can respond right here and close the request. If the student replies to me, this will grow essentially into a dialog box, so you can see the history of the request. As I mentioned, this upper part of the rubric is shared among all students or across all students. So if I discover that I actually made a mistake and that rubric item should have been 1 point and not 2, changing it in the rubric will then apply to all other students for which this rubric item was applied. So that's, again, a huge time save. I can handle multiple requests in one single grading action. If it's not a rubric item related issue, but I do want to change the student's score, I can make it right here in the submission specific assignments. So we can see that this student lost 1 point. Let's say that I want to add this point. I'm just clicking +1 in the submission specific adjustments, and this student now has an extra point. That is the regrade requests, and what I'd like to do now is actually show you the statistics page. So I'm going to switch right here. This is a real statistics page from a computer science course at UC Berkeley that the instructor kindly let us share in our walkthroughs. And I can see that the home page of the statistics page is per question statistics. And I can see right here that question 2.1, 2, and 3.1 students have done pretty well on. I can see that 3.6 they've done really kind of poorly, and I want to try to understand why. Is it because it's the last question and they didn't have time? Or are they having a hard time with the concept that question actually assesses? So I'm going to go ahead and drill down and open 3.6 in another tab. And when I drill down into a question, now I get per rubric item statistics. Right? So I can go ahead and look at the most popular or the most commonly used rubric items, the most common mistakes, how many of my students had that rubric item applied to their work. And a quick review shows me that only 19% of my students left this question blank. So it tells me that they probably did actually have time to deal with the question, but that they're probably having a hard time with the concept. Now you must be asking, how do I know which concept that is? In Gradescope, either before you even start grading or during or after, instructors can tag questions with learning objectives or concepts. And every tag you create will wait for you in a drop-down menu, so you can apply a single tag to multiple questions. Then when I go ahead and change to the tag view, I can see per concept how my students are doing. So I can see right here, again, this is a computer science example, that they're doing pretty well with environment diagrams and with trees, but that they're having a hard time with the recursion and higher order functions. So a quick course correction. Next lecture, I can spend the first 10 minutes on these two concepts, knowing that these were the most common mistakes and challenges that students had. I can also maybe not spend class time on it, but send materials and some more info or the part of the lecture that speaks to these concepts. I can also make sure to make a note that next time I teach this course, I can experiment with taking a bit of teaching time from environment diagrams and trees and spend it on recursion and higher order functions. I can also try to understand if there are parallel sections or parallel courses. I can compare with another instructor and try to understand why are students in 61A, why do they understand recursion much better than 61B? Is it how much time the instructor spent on that concept? Is it the materials they use to practice? Is it the way they teach it? So really is, again, a powerful tool for better understanding student performance and student learning. There's one more layer here that you can use, which is essentially not only seeing per concept statistics, but seeing per concept how many questions you've had and how many points in this exam or homework or assignment. And so I can see that environment diagrams, lists, coding, have been heavily assessed in this assignment. But taking a close look shows me that recursion actually only had one question and 4 points. Now, it might be that that specific concept is just not a big one and I don't care tremendously about it. But if I do, I know that I can probably, and maybe I should, use the next quiz or next set of homework problems to focus on recursion so I can better assess it. Because here I've only had one question and 4 points. On my dashboard here, I can go ahead and create a new course. So I'm going to give a quick example to creating a new course and an assignment. So I'm calling this course Stanford 101, Intro to Gradescope. This course description is available to students. What instructors usually do is they put a link to the syllabus here. You can choose which term and year you are teaching and your school. There's going to be a drop down here. When you go ahead, you don't have to scroll. You can just type Stanford and it will go ahead and lead you there. And I'm going to go ahead and create the course. Now in the course, you'll have this roster, so you can sync the roster with Canvas. And I'm going to go ahead and create my assignment, my first assignment. So this will actually be a homework assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and select my homework submission or homework template. I'm going to title this homework 1. And this here is asking me, is this an instructor uploaded assignment or a student uploaded assignment? An instructor uploaded assignment is the example I've showed thus far. So these are mostly quizzes and exams. What I'm going to create now is a homework submission. This will open all these other opportunities for you to punch in data to Gradescope. So is there a release date? Let's say that we've, let's put yesterday, so it's going to be available for me on my student account. And a due date, let's say that it's a week from now at 2 p.m. Do I allow late submissions? Yes or no? And if so, when? That will mark student submissions with a late notification, and then you can decide what you want to do with that. Is it a variable length or a templated work? Templated is same as the exams and the quizzes. That means that all of the students' answers, or at least most of them, are going to be on the same area in the template. What I'm going to choose here is a variable length. That means that I've given the students a hard copy of the homework, or I've sent an email. They'll have 3 questions, and I can expect that some students are going to give back 2 pages of work, and some are going to give 7, and some are going to give 13. And then do I enable a group submission, and if so, how many students can be in this group? This time, I'm not going to enable group submissions. Clicking next will lead me to the creating an outline. Now, I want to remind you, since this is a variable length, there's no reason for me to create the outline like I did on the templated work, which is right here. So instead of creating answer regions, I'm just going to let Gradescope know that there are 3 questions, and how many points does each question worth. I'm going to go ahead and save the outline, and my assignment is now available to students. So I'm going to just quickly upload a roster here. So this work will be available for me on my student account. I'm going to do this with a CSV file because I'm not connected to Canvas at the moment, but for you it's just going to be a quick button click. I can see the different columns right here. I can indicate which these are students, instructors, or TAs. These are students. And I'm going to uncheck this button to email a notification to students that they were added to the course. I'm not interested in that at the moment. They will get notified when I publish the grades. So I'm going to go ahead and import this roster. And now, switching to my student account, I should be added to a new course called Stanford 101. And I have a homework submission that has 1 week and 2 hours left to submit. I'm going to click into it. And this enables me to select files from my either phone or computer. We take all image files and PDF files. So a lot of the times what students would do is they'll just snap pictures of their work and upload it directly from their phone. We also recommend a few scanning apps on our help center. I can tell you that personally I recommend Cam Scanner. It's just very good and very easy to use. So I'm going to go ahead and pretend like I scanned my work with my phone. I'm going to submit a PDF. These are my homework. Important to note that when it comes to homework, students will not see the homework on their Gradescope accounts. Instructors usually send an email or give out a hard copy. But here I see my submission. If for some reason I need to reorder the work, I can do that very easily. If I need to rotate because scanning was a little messed up, I can do that. And since this is a variable length, the solution Gradescope found for still helping instructors not to have to flip through multiple pages is that as a student, I can indicate to instructors where in my specific scanned work are the answers to the questions. So I can click on question number 1 and indicate that the answer would be on page 1. Click on question number 2 and indicate that my answer is on pages 1 and 2. And I can let the instructor know that the answer to question number 3 is on page 2. Then I can go ahead and submit. And I get a notification that my homework submission has gone through. Now, by default, students can submit homeworks multiple times. There is no limit on that. But you as an instructor will have access to the submission history. So if you do want to limit the amount of submissions, you can let students know in class that you will only take up to 3 submissions. And then in the submission history, you can go ahead and pick the submission number 3 and go ahead and grade that one. And that's that. That's how you create a homework assignment and a course. And I've showed you how to submit homework as a student. That is the overview of Gradescope. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us at help@gradescope.com. During business hours, we try to get back to instructors within 1 hour. If it's urgent, please make sure that you let us know in the subject line. Sometimes instructors literally have a grading session that's about to start or an exam they're about to give, so we make sure that we put these urgent requests on top. And generally speaking, this relationship we have with Stanford is we very much value this relationship. It's not a one-way street. We love hearing from instructors. We love hearing how you feel about the product, what works really well, what doesn't, what is missing and you'd like to see. So please feel free to email us at help@gradescope.com. And that is it for this specific walkthrough. And I hope to see you using Gradescope, and I hope that this would be a great experience for you.